problem. All lies will be exposed. That's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it the wrong way. The truth is the light.
I need to have another one of these.
Amen, amen.
Gee. I kind of.
This is way over the edge. Like we it's not even over the edge. We died already.
This is beyond the event horizon. Like we about to hit the vortex.
Yeah, we about to hit the vortex.
Yeah.
Within the OCGFC that are not interested in that, and those factions that are more global oriented, which have already that are already embedding themselves in the BRICS project, and which are aiming to take advantage of the pivot to the global south. Now you have to understand, I'm talking now about what their motivations might be, what their objectives might be, and what their objectives logically are in terms of the transition of the moving of the center of gravity of the global economy to the southern hemisphere, what they want to get out of it, what they want, and what they want from our perspective is diabolical. They want to commandeer the whole transition to their advantage, to maintain and consolidate their power and control. That's what they want. That's what they're after. So for that reason, they could potentially support the removal of the U.S. from the UN. I think they might go along with that because they're going along with, if not actively advancing the isolation of the United States. But then getting what they want out of that is not an inevitability, which is why you have to move in parallel with them, intertwined with the existing momentum so that you can steer the trajectory. I don't think that you could do anything that would more assuredly guarantee that the OCGFC do get what they want than if you were to just collide with them in overt opposition. I think that they want, and it makes sense to them, and it does indeed make sense, that the institutions that determine the global order for the rest of this century, that those institutions should be in the global south, and they should be operated and managed by the global south. Political power should shift along with economic power. And I think that we're already past the Rubicon on something like that. I think
boy, you looking like a milk dud. Nigga thought he was Michael Jordan. Boy, you looking like Blank Man. Boy, you looking like Lil Bill.
How you die does not redeem how you lived. You do not become a hero in your death when you are a weapon of the enemy in your life.
Well, negotiations, right? Politics. And we're out of time. So you
Hey, y'all, gravity. Any day above ground, live it. I hope you're having a fantastic start to your Saturday, unless you're a Venezuelan. Now, let them tell it that they happy that this is happening. But I hope y'all realize that what Trump just pulled is a multifold attack to have us being invaded.
What the hell?
That's right. He gift wrapped Venezuela to BRICS, and Trump is going to bring in refugees.
Robert, stop it. Y'all quit playing. Quit playing. Robert. I didn't do this stuff. This is not me. I'm fighting for my life.
That's how he's going to sound in front of the UN come springtime. See, y'all can go online right now, watch MAGA sit up there and claim that this is the greatest thing ever. Pete Hegseth is the man because he didn't leak nothing. You can go over there to the left side. They talking about how this is wrong and he's violating constitutional power. They still don't see the play. But that's why you come here, because I'm going to go past all that. That shit is window dressing. That is the first floor of the house. You got to go upstairs. That's where the rest takes place. So we're going to look at all this, but I might as well start off with this one time. This is what we were sold was not going to happen. See that? See all them helicopters and planes? You see him?
Mamá huevo, qué locura. Mocaí. Mira esa mierda, explotaron allá toda esa mierda porque tú no estás explotando. Mierda, marico, se prendió el peo en esa mierda, yo. Huevo.
That's what we were sold was not going to happen during the Trump administration because he does not like wars. You've had many of his people come outside and tell you he doesn't like war. He don't like nuclear war. He don't like any type of war. He'd rather talk. Sounds like the OCGFC got to him and told him that you got to follow the script. I understand you want to go outside and keep your base happy. We get it, but you're being wrong, sir.
Why do you feel a necessity to insult people?
Again.
Is that
where's the script? Where's the script? Read the script.
Is this a big defensive thing that you've got?
Read the script.
Why don't you read your own script?
Yeah. But anyway, before we get into all that, let's see who's in the building. Carlton Way, hello. Emperor Rex, hello. Reparations Nation, hello. Ricky Ross, hello. Cosma, hello. Norland, hello. Lehman Lucas, hello. Sybil, hello. Shreemelman Bot, you bastard, hello. Gamers Den, hello. T. Dominique, hello. Cornelius Jones, excuse me, hello. Anthony Ruger Phillips, hello. Elder Baba, hello. Charles Gibson, hello. Stay positive, hello. For those who haven't said anything in the live chat or the comments, hello. All right, even though I played the video already, we got to do the customary house cleaning because we got to go over some stuff really quickly. And then we're going to go listen to Trump address the nation at 11 a.m. And then we're going to come back and I'm going to show you how this helps BRICS and the kind of trouble that Trump just stirred up. But let's get to the house clean.
Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is use permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Now go and start the teaching.
All right. We're not going to do the transition, but this is what's going on X, because, you know, X is the place where all the idiots sit there and congregate, and me and Brother Torian and others, we just farm for content because they make it too easy. So Pam Bondi come outside 3 hours ago. She says Nicolas Maduro and his wife Cecilia Flores have been indicted in the Southern District of New York. Nicolas Maduro has been charged with narco-terrorism conspiracy, cocaine importation conspiracy, possession of machine guns and destructive devices, and conspiracy to possess machine guns and destructive devices against the United States. They will soon face the full wrath of American justice on American soil and American courts. On behalf of the entire U.S. DOJ, I would like to thank President Trump for having the courage to demand accountability on behalf of the American people. And a huge thank you to our brave military who conducted the incredible and highly successful mission to capture these two alleged international narco traffickers. I told you MAGA don't like women. Marco Rubio. Maduro is not the president of Venezuela's regime, is not the legitimate government. Maduro is the head of the Cartel de los Soles, a narco-terror organization which has taken possession of a country, and he's under indictment for pushing drugs into the United States. We're going to let the courts play that out. Let's see what this is. Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado. This is not a legitimate president. This is the head of a criminal structure that was already defeated in a presidential election by a landslide. Okay, let's see what she says.
I completely trust the strategy President Trump is developing and his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. They know very well with whom they're dealing with. This is not a legitimate president. This is the head of a criminal structure that was already defeated in a presidential election by landslide. So they know how to deal with these kind of individuals that are criminals, narco-terrorists. And I believe that Maduro will get a very clear picture of what are his options and what's the future for Venezuela.
What would be your message to Americans who are worried that this could become another costly foreign entanglement for them?
I believe it's exactly the contrary. Maduro started this war. President Trump is ending this war. A transition to democracy in Venezuela will make the Americas, including the United States, safer, more secure, and more prosperous. Because Venezuela, our country, has been turned into that safe haven for all those enemies, forces that want to undermine the institutions of the United States and also kill people in Venezuela and in your country. So we are solving and dismantling a criminal structure that has produced great pain and turned our country, our nation, into the best ally of the United States, a security shield for the Americas, and a huge opportunity.
A security shield for America. You mean the same Venezuela that I was watching for over 3 decades? Y'all keep telling us ain't shit. They're a socialist country. They're broke. I just want y'all to understand what I'm saying. MAGA did not give a fuck about Venezuela until Trump told them to care about Venezuela. Venezuela, yes, Maduro fucked that country up, but they fucked up because the U.S. made it so. Maduro is a U.S. puppet that finally outlived his usefulness. I'm going to say that again. Maduro is a U.S. puppet that outlived his usefulness.
We know this. The Chinese know that we know. But we make believe that we don't know, and the Chinese make believe that they believe that we don't know, but know that we know. Everybody knows.
And you got these idiots around here celebrating the fact that they took a puppet off the board that they created. This is akin to them hooping and hollering and having a 3-day party because somebody on their side decided that today was going to be the day that they put a noose around Pinocchio's neck, regardless of him trying to use his nose to get out of it. But he's sitting there hanging while they're letting Geppetto sit there and watch it.
What the hell?
You were told Venezuela was a problem, but they got the oil that we can use, even though OPEC done told everybody it doesn't matter if you take their oil. We don't want that. We set the prices. We tell you, America, how much to pump. I want MAGA to understand this, and MAGA can get mad at me for saying this. How come your boy doesn't talk about drill, baby, drill anymore? Why is it the MAGA supporters are saying, we got to go get that oil. We got to take out Maduro. We got to liberate the Venezuelan people. Remember, during the election cycle, he kept saying, drill, baby, drill. All his supporters kept saying, drill, baby, drill. As soon as he gets in office, I don't hear drill, baby, drill no more. Again, OPEC don't care about Venezuela's oil. They've even said that they've done surveys in that area. They don't think that mother lode that they kept saying was there is there. But of course, again, you folk around there, you don't go down those rabbit holes. You wait till people like Nick Shirley, that piece of shit. You wait till Nick Sorter, that piece of shit, that Mario Nawfal idiot over there, open up spaces to sit in there with 4,000 people to lie to you. Then you get out of those spaces, then you go scroll up on your timeline with all the racists in there, and then you start seeing a divide in their ranks because they don't like what he did. You call them, you say they're not real patriots because they're going against the Trump agenda. I want MAGA to explain to me what we're gaining out of this. Oh, I know. You're making BRICS stronger. You just told the entire world, we're glad that Trump did this. I hope you're going to stand with him when he has to go to 44th Street and 1st Avenue in New York City and go in that building, you know, the one where they didn't let somebody from his administration in, and him, JD, Pete, and Marco got to sit, and Pam probably, and they're probably going to throw her to the wolves. Y'all are going to have to sit in front of that General Assembly and explain yourselves. Oh, but I know y'all going to tell me, well, the UN ain't shit. They don't care. We run the UN. We fund them. Well, funny thing about that, you think the UN didn't, you think they like this? I don't think they like this. And it's Saturday. I mean, it's lazy day for most of the world. But let's see what the UN said about this little stunt that America pulled last night into this morning.
You know, let me go here. There's a growing concern.
Well, look at that. World reacts to U.S. strikes on Venezuela. Now, this is on Huffington Post. So we're going to look via Reuters. So Reuters is over there in the UK. Keep a pin in that. Keep a pin in the UK. Several leaders, including the presidents of Chile, Colombia and Spain, raised concerns about the violation of international law. Why are they bringing up international law, you ask? Huh? Okay. Let's look. The Russian Foreign Ministry. This morning, the United States committed an act of armed aggression against Venezuela. This is deeply concerning and condemnable. The pretexts used to justify such actions are unfounded. Ideological animosity has prevailed over business pragmatism, and the willingness to build relationships based on trust and predictability. In the current situation, it is important first and foremost to prevent further escalation and to focus on finding a way out of the situation through dialogue. Latin America must remain a zone of peace as it declared itself to be in 2014. And Venezuela must be guaranteed the right to determine its own destiny without any destructive, let alone military interference from outside. We support the statement by the Venezuelan authorities and the leaders of Latin American countries calling for an immediate meeting of the UN Security Council. And who's on the Security Council, you might ask, for those who don't know. And if you do know, you could put it in the chat. We're still going to show it on the screen. That's right. China, France, the frog people, Russia, the United Kingdom, and the United States. With 10 other members. We'll show the full list. Yes, we will. Let's see. Here we go. So here's the 5 permanent members. And let's see, where's the other 10? Let me see. Let me go get the other 10. The other 10 members are elected on a regional basis for a term of 2 years. The body's presidency rotates monthly amongst its members. All right, let me see where are we at right now. Here we go. Non-permanent members on rotation. Bahrain, which has been in the news lately because they're getting on the GCC, the Gulf States script. So keep an eye on that. Colombia, who just condemned, who we're about to read their condemnation of this. Democratic Republic of the Congo. Zimbabwe is trying to get into BRICS. Denmark, Greece, Latvia, Liberia. That'd be hilarious. Colony that old Matt Unclear didn't understand how they were created and how it works might expel the U.S. from the Security Council. Pakistan, who Trump sat up there for months saying how they stopped India and Pakistan from fighting each other, even though they're still fighting each other, but you let them have it. Panama, you tried to take their canal away from them, but then they sold it to China, and now China has unfettered access to North America and South America, but y'all got that. Somalia, isn't that funny? Isn't this funny? Is it this funny? I'm finna blow this up. I bet you your MAGA people won't tell you this. You don't find it strange that he's fucking with Somalia right when they're running the show for 30 days? Well, 31 because it's January. Nobody found this strange. Well, yes, correct. Neil Fire and welcome. You seem new, but welcome. But China runs and owns the Panama Canal. Yes, they're paying Panama to just maintain it. But hey, y'all want to explain this? MAGA. Oh, I know. This is Wikipedia. You're going to tell me it's not reliable. You're right. People can edit it. I'm just saying. But why is your right-wing media? Why are they the ones reporting it? Oops. I'm telling you, the spring is going to be fun. So much fun. But we know why they really did this. This whole thing over here, this is all theater. I know y'all gonna say me this is a script and all this. That's true. there's a real reason behind this that happened under the radar last year. A lot of people I was watching, they didn't really report on it. And I said I wasn't going to report on it because I knew something else was coming. Something happened about, I want to say, about 8 weeks ago. Something happened. Nah, not 8. I'm tripping. 6 weeks ago. Something happened that most people didn't even realize what happened. And I think this might contribute to why Trump did what he did. Because, you know, he vengeful, even though they try to tell you he the nicest person ever, you know, grandkids, pictures and all that bullshit. Would you like to know what happened a few weeks ago that they barely reported on? I'll show you.
You know, let me go here. There's a growing concern in.
That's right. His boy got convicted. He got to serve 27 years. And he wanted to be let out on house arrest. They said no. Yes, he's back in Brazil in federal custody. They said no. He said, I feel sick. They said, who cares? Let's look. Oh, Mexico had an earthquake? Let me look. Let me look. Wow. All right. I'll keep my eye on that. Let's get back to this. Brazil's former president, Jair Bolsonaro, returned to prison after a court rejected his plea for house arrest as his conviction for plotting a coup reshapes the race for the 2026 election. Now, for those who don't remember, I streamed that. And they took my stream down, saying it was misinformation and gave me a strike for a week. Huh. Looks like I wasn't lying. But all right, you got it, YouTube. You got it. Brazil's former president, Jair Bolsonaro, left the hospital Thursday to return to prison and resume serving a 27-year sentence for plotting a coup. In a ruling published earlier in the day, judges denied a request from Bolsonaro's lawyers to grant him house arrest on health grounds. Bolsonaro, 70, had been hospitalized for more than a week as he underwent surgery for a groin hernia and then a procedure to treat recurring bouts of hiccups. Contrary to what the defense alleges, there has been no worsening of Jair Messias Bolsonaro's health condition, Judge Alexandre de Moraes stated in his decision denying house arrest. In office from 2019 to 2022, the ex-president has for years been dealing with complications from an abdominal stab wound he suffered during a 2018 campaign rally, requiring several major surgeries. On Thursday, Bolsonaro was seen leaving the DF Star Hospital in Brasilia in police custody to go back to a small room where he is serving his sentence at a federal police facility. In September, the Supreme Court found Bolsonaro guilty of conspiring to stay in power after narrowly losing 2022 elections to leftist Luis Inácio Lula da Silva. Prosecutors said the plot, which included a plan to assassinate Lula, allegedly, failed because of a lack of support from military top brass. Bolsonaro, an ally of U.S. President Donald Trump, dismissed the trial as a witch hunt aimed at preventing him from running for president again in 2026. He was under house arrest until shortly before the start of his prison term in November. He was detained and sent to prison after he took a soldering iron to his ankle monitoring bracelet in what the court saw as an escape attempt. The Supreme Court last month Bolsonaro said his actions were the result of medication-induced paranoia. The Supreme Court last month rejected his appeal against his conviction. His supporters have had more success in the conservative-controlled Congress, which has passed a law that could reduce Bolsonaro's sentence to just over 2 years. Lula has vowed to veto the law. However, Congress has the last word and can override it. Bolsonaro's conviction has thrown open the race for president in October 2026 elections. With his comeback chances looking increasingly shaky, the right-winger has tapped his son Flavio Bolsonaro, a 44-year-old senator, to succeed him as the head of Brazil's conservatives. To win, the younger Bolsonaro may have to beat fellow conservative contenders as well as 80-year-old Lula, who has signaled he may seek a fourth term. Western politics is so much fun. But yeah, there's that. Oh boy. It's going to get fun. But as I said, we're going to go now look at Trump addressing the nation. And then we're going to explain how he just gave BRICS a powerful possible member nation because he don't know no better.
You know, let me go here. There's a growing concern in.
And of course, Fox News has to have all these damn ads. We don't care about Shutterfly. Oh shit, they must have heard me. I stay going in on Google. Look at that. Y'all gotta always do cookies and shit. This is why I use DuckDuckGo, fam. I get what I need and I'm out. Oh shit. That's a creative thing. I want to see what they're gonna have for the Super Bowl. You know what? That's fine. They're gonna have that in the books. And the book we talking about is the DSM. But anyway, how y'all doing this morning? I always forget to ask that. Oh Lord. For you football fans, I know y'all gonna have fun this week as it's the last week of the season. You got 2 big games today. Now we're gonna watch the Panthers choke the bed because they don't know no better. I forgot the other game that's coming on tonight. I don't care. I haven't watched the NFL since 2016. Oh, they're showing cowboys and cowgirls. All right. Tecovas. All right. We're showing alcohol. All right. Shout out to the conservatives. But isn't this is so much fun, fam. Tiny Tranny put up a whole, what they call it, a poll, asking if you agree with what Trump did. And of course, they were all like, yeah, of course we do. I was like, okay, motherfucker. I hope y'all are going to agree when he starts bringing in them refugees. Look at the Hodge coons. And they ain't legal trouble. So we are. This is gonna look at all the conservatives. Look. Okay, you gonna learn. You just told the rest of the world it's cool. We could go get whoever we want. All right. I told you this man wants, he never had a war on his ledger. He need that. Y'all got hype because he said Maduro don't want to fuck with the U.S. Okay. The U.S. Y'all don't know about the legal trouble? Yeah, they apparently tried to call some 8-year-old girl a trans, and that little girl had to have psychological therapy, and now her mama finna put a lawsuit on their ass. And they did that while she was at a concert with some singer, and the singer might be jumping in the lawsuit. Them motherfuckers might be done. Yes, fuck the Giants. That's right, because we've had a shitty season. It's okay. No, she was white. She was a little white girl. It's gonna be hilarious. They're gonna have to sit there and explain that in court. And they thought they were cool by trying to delete the tweet, but a whole bunch of people already took it. I was like, all right. An 8-year-old girl is about to have all the Hodge Coons money. That is the Siamese Coons money. That's gonna be great. Damn, how many commercials these motherfuckers got? Damn. Come on, let's get to the show. That's why I hate Fox News. Let me go see who else. Let me go CNN. Oh, you dragged him from the bedroom? Say less. CNN drives through outskirts of Caracas after Maduro's capture. Okay, so y'all couldn't go in the city? Y'all scared? But y'all be going to war-torn Gaza with the helmets on and the UN vests, and y'all just sitting there chilling. Okay. All right. Hang on 1 second. Let me put this in. I don't want y'all seeing none of my shit. Trump or Maduro, the people have no love for him. All right, motherfucker. Okay. You're going to install some puppet down there again, and they're going to turn on him or her. Then what? You already have enough refugees by that point, so it's okay. Let's see how long CNN going to take to load up. All right, let me see what they talking about.
Country, crimes for which he's been properly indicted in U.S. courts and an arrest warrant duly issued. And today he learned what accountability looks like. The administration is working to reschedule.
You'll learn in the springtime
when they return to Washington next week. And the Senate Majority Leader John Thune echoed that, saying for years, Nicolas Maduro, the cartel he leads, and other cartels in Latin America have trafficked drugs into the United States, which have killed hundreds of thousands of Americans. I spoke to Secretary Rubio early this morning, and I look forward to receiving further briefings from the administration on this.
Am I allowed to say that Trump leads the pharmaceutical cartels?
Strategy when the Senate returns to Washington next week. And the president warned several weeks ago the U.S. would be taking an aggressive anti-drug posture in the region. He told reporters in the Oval Office Colombian President Gustavo Petro had better wise up or he could be next. And President Trump was also asked this morning whether this operation could be seen as a prelude to action closer to home, potentially in Mexico, if it should be seen as a call to action or a warning to Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum.
Listen.
He said no, the U.S. has a good relationship with her, but also said that she has rebuffed U.S. offers to take out cartels there, and something needs to happen.
I like how she said that, right? We like that, right? That sounds cool. Trump, why do you keep lying to folk? I just want to know why you keep lying to folk.
You know, let me go here. There's a growing concern in.
What this be? Let's look.
From your vice president, J.D. Vance, said that the message is pretty clear. The drug trafficking must stop. So was this operation a message that you're sending to Mexico, to Claudia Sheinbaum, the president there?
Well, it wasn't meant to be, and we're very friendly with her. She's a good woman, but the cartels are running Mexico. She's not running Mexico. The cartels are running Mexico. And we could be politically correct and be nice and say, oh, yes, she is. No, she's very, she's very frightened of the cartels. They're running Mexico. And I've asked her numerous times, would you like us to take out the cartels? No, Mr. President. No, please. So we have to do something because we lost. The real number is 300,000 people, in my opinion. They like to say 100,000. 100,000 is a lot of people, but the real number is 300,000 people. And we lost it to drugs, and they come in through the southern border, mostly the southern border. Plenty come in through Canada, too, by the way, in case you don't know.
Yeah.
But
I thought you said you secured it, so how are they still coming through?
But they come in through the southern border, and something's going to have to be done with Mexico.
Something is going to have to be done with Mexico. Something is going to have to be done with Mexico. Okay. But you just said you cool with her, and we are all right.
The North Lawn. Jackie, stand by if you will. After the news conference, we'll get some reaction. Meantime, reaction is pouring in from around the world regarding these strikes on Venezuela's capital. Praise and condemnation.
Yeah, let's finish looking at that before we get into that. So Milei, of course, put him over. Mexican Ministry of Foreign Affairs strongly condemned. Remember when I told you to keep a pen in UK? I want to establish the facts first. I want to speak to President Trump. I want to speak to allies. I can be absolutely clear that we were not involved. And I always say and believe we should uphold international law, Starmer said in a statement to British broadcasters. Oops. Now, Brazil rejected Venezuela's BRICS application. I know it wasn't Lula specifically that did it, but still. The bombings on Venezuelan territory and the capture of its president crossed an unacceptable line. These acts represent a grave affront to Venezuela's sovereignty and yet another extremely dangerous precedent for the entire international community. Attacking countries in flagrant violation of international law is the first step towards a world of violence, chaos, and instability, where the law of the strongest prevails over multilateralism. Ukraine has consistently defended the rights of nations to live freely, free of dictatorship, oppression, and human rights violations. The Maduro regime has violated all such principles in every respect. We stand for further developments in accordance with the principles of international law, prioritizing democracy, human rights, and the interests of Venezuelans. It'd be funny as hell they took all that cash and weapons and then turn on the U.S. Belarus, the president of Belarus categorically condemns the act of American aggression against Venezuela. Ecuador President Noboa, the time is coming for all the narco-chavista criminals. Their structure will finally collapse across the entire continent, he wrote on X. Okay. To Corina Machado, Edmundo Gonzalez, and the Venezuelan people, it's time to reclaim your country. You have an ally in Ecuador. Now, by the way, I love how they mention these two people because they are the leading front runners for the elections. All right, I'm just keep looking back to see when Trump's gonna start talking. Let me see. Uruguay Foreign Ministry. The government of the Eastern Republic of Uruguay is following with close attention and serious concerns the events that have been reported from Venezuela in recent hours, including U.S. airstrikes against Venezuelan military installations and civilian infrastructure. Military installations and civilian infrastructure. Okay. Uruguay rejects, as it always has, military intervention by one country in the territory of another and reaffirms the importance of respecting international law and the UN Charter in particular, the basic principle that states must refrain from resorting to the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state or in any other manner inconsistent with the purposes of the United Nations. They keep mentioning the United Nations. It's about to be fun. European Union High Representative for Foreign Affairs, Kaja Kallas. Oh, the EU. I had spoken with Secretary of State Marco Rubio and our ambassador in Caracas. The EU is closely monitoring the situation in Venezuela. The EU has repeatedly stated that Mr. Maduro lacks legitimacy and has defended a peaceful transition. Under all circumstances, the principles of international law and the UN Charter must be respected. We call for restraint. Ursula, following very closely the situation in Venezuela, we stand by the people of Venezuela and support a peaceful and democratic transition. Any solution must respect international law and the UN Charter. They're going to try to expel us from the UN Security Council. Boy. I can't wait to see that credit rating drop when they do that. As the government of Chile, we express our concern and condemnation of the military actions of the United States in Venezuela and call for a peaceful solution to the serious crisis affecting the country. Chile reaffirms its commitment to the basic principles of international law, such as the prohibition of the use of force, non-intervention, the peaceful settlement of international disputes, and the territorial integrity of states. Colombia's president. The government of the Republic of Colombia views with deep concern the reports of explosions and unusual air activity in recent hours in the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, as well as the resulting escalation of tension in the region. Let's look. Do they say international law anywhere? Sovereignty and territorial integrity of states? International disputes. So y'all just copy and paste it. The Ayatollah. Now, you know he gangster. He gonna come outside and probably say something. We knew this. What matters is that when a person realizes the enemy is arrogantly trying to impose something on the country or on the officials, on the government, and on the nation, one must stand firmly against the enemy and bear one's chest in resistance. We will not yield to the enemy. Relying on Almighty God, trusting in God, and with confidence in the support of the people, God willing, and by divine grace, we will bring the enemy to its knees. They out here. Them folk out here, white girl rapping.
This is an uppercut. It's not fucking rough. I'm top 2 and definitely not the runner. I ain't got the moan to block the bubbles and
He probably wrote this on X too. Spanish Foreign Ministry. Spain calls for de-escalation and moderation and for action to always be taken in accordance with international law and the principles of the UN Charter. In this regard, Spain is willing to offer its good offices to achieve a peaceful and negotiated solution to the current crisis. Damn, they trying to get in. Trinidad. Hey, y'all out there liming all day, and now y'all want to say something? Say less. Y'all got more problems than this, but okay, let me look. Earlier this morning, the United States commenced military operations within the territory of Venezuela. Trinidad and Tobago is not a participant in any of these ongoing military operations. Trinidad and Tobago continues to maintain peaceful relations with the people of Venezuela. I mean, I know you import them. Y'all are literally across the ocean. You can literally see Venezuela from the edge of Tobago. I'm sorry, to Trinidad and Tobago. But all right, go ahead. Prominent MP from Germany's Conservative Christian Democratic Union. With President Trump, the U.S. are abandoning the rules-based order that has shaped us since 1945. The coup in Venezuela marks a return to the old U.S. doctrine from before 1940, a mindset of thinking in terms of spheres of influence where the law of force rules, not international law. Trump is destroying what was left of any trust in the U.S. Son of a bitch. Y'all got Germany out there talking like that. Germany.
this is an uppercut. It's not fucking rough. I'm top 2 and definitely not the runner. I ain't got the moan to block the bubbles and
They out there white girl rapping. Oh my God. Former policy spokesman of German conservative parliamentary group. So the conservatives in Germany are on this man. Shh. All right. Let's see what this one says. For many years, Maduro suppressed civil society in Venezuela and supported terrorism and drugs in the region as a tool of power to destabilize his opponents. This was a violation of international law. International law again. From a human rights perspective, the end of his rule is good news. Nigel Farage. The American actions in Venezuela overnight are unorthodox and contrary to international law, but if they make China and Russia think twice, it may be a good thing. Okay. Yet you had the Chinese delegation down there when you pulled this. Okay. All right. What they say, moments away? Okay, that's cool. I hope the Venezuelan people can now turn a new leaf without Maduro. No, they just put somebody else in there. Former Prime Minister of Italy, Giuseppe Conte. The American aggression against Venezuela has no legal basis. International law again. UK Chatham House think tank program director, Mark Weller. International law prohibits the use of force as a means of national policy. These motherfuckers are going to kick us out. Indonesia is monitoring developments in Venezuela to ensure the safety of its citizens. Oh, Lord. UN Charter again. Hezbollah came outside. Hezbollah condemns the terrorist aggression and American thuggery against the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. They out here sounded like Punjabi MC. What the hell was that? Oh my God. Hezbollah further affirms its full solidarity with Venezuela, its people, presidency, and government in confronting this American aggression and arrogance. They are talking cash shit. The spring will be fun. Oh my God. Let's get it. Let me see what this white girl talking about.
On, but no U.S.
Don't she
aircraft
look like
lost, and now the Venezuelan
like
dictator Nicolas Maduro and his wife are on board the USS Iwo Jima, the amphibious assault ship, headed to New York, where they will stand trial. The president was asked this morning what he sees as the next steps for the people of Venezuela if the U.S. intends to throw its support behind the Venezuelan opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado, or if it will recognize the sitting vice president. The U.S. does not recognize the government of Venezuela. And it has for many years thrown its support behind the opposition leader because of the rigged elections there. But when asked what the U.S. intends to do and if we will move forward supporting Machado, the president said that there is a vice president that is sitting right now, even though the election was not legitimate, and we will see what happens. That sort of speaks to his posture about this operation, that it was less about regime change than about justice for the thousands, hundreds of thousands of American lives that have been taken because of the flow of drugs into this country.
So was it Venezuela or was it
more
Mexico?
Answers that we are awaiting on how this was carried out and what is set to happen next. We are also watching reaction coming in from across the world. The Russian Foreign Ministry has urged the U.S. to release Maduro and his wife, and the Maduro delegation yesterday, we know, met with a Chinese delegation at Miraflores Palace. So Venezuela has been a hotbed for some of the forces that are antithetical to Western values and has been described as a hotbed of terrorism, a seat for which groups like Hezbollah have been able to take hold and sort of set up shop in the Western Hemisphere. Obviously, something that is of grave concern to the U.S., making sure that whatever government comes to power in Venezuela will protect its people and human rights, basically.
Jackie, the strike started overnight in the early morning hours in Caracas. Started getting reports of these strikes taking out the electrical grid, taking out communications and intelligence. And then we're told there was this U.S. Special Operations Force that hit the ground. The president talked about that in specifics on an interview on Fox and Friends, where he said he was watching it live at Mar-a-Lago. They have what's called a SCIF, intelligence room, where they can set up screens to see exactly what's happening real time. He said he watched as those forces essentially had Nicolas Maduro and his wife running into a safe room. They didn't get there before they were captured. This is a big moment in which we will hear from the president, the Secretary of War, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and the Secretary of State, and dealing with the political controversy of whether there is going to be a force on the ground or what the role of the U.S. will be in Venezuela.
That's right. And the president also said that the U.S. sort of ran drills and created basically a practice model for how this would be carried out. And he praised the actions of U.S. forces in being able to do this with precision and very quickly. And we will expect to hear full details from him and from Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, both of whom have been speaking to congressional leaders this morning. And we had heard from the other side of the aisle some consternation that this operation happened without congressional approval. But the statements that we've been getting from Republican leadership framed this more as an extradition than a military operation that was aimed at regime change.
But you
We
needed
heard
to
statements
bomb
of
the
praise
city.
from Senate Majority Leader John Thune and also House Speaker Mike
How,
Johnson.
hold
both
up,
of them.
lady, how was this an extradition, but you had to go bomb the country to go get him? All right. What's that you said about oil Trump?
What do you see as the future of Venezuela's oil industry?
Well, I see that we're going to be very strongly involved in it. What can I say? We have the greatest oil companies in the world, the biggest, the greatest, and we're going to be very much involved in it. We companies in the world in it. That's all. I mean, what can I say? We have the greatest oil companies in the world, the biggest, the greatest, and
No, you don't. You don't even own British, but never mind. He got it.
we're going to be very much involved in it. We can't do something like this, and we're prepared. You know, we were prepared to do a second wave. We were all set and this was so lethal, this was so powerful that we didn't have to, but we're prepared. We're out there with an armada like nobody's ever seen before, and we're prepared, and frankly, probably thought we were going to have to do it, but we were prepared for a second wave going in.
What do you see as the future of Venezuela's oil industry?
Well, we're going to be very strongly involved in it. That's all. I mean, what can I say? We have the greatest oil companies in the world, the biggest, the greatest, and we're going to be very much involved in it. We can't.
You don't own them, sir. Jesus Christ. I told you the corporations are bigger than the government.
Supported Maria Corina Machado, but what happens next, whether there's a special election called, whether there are forces that are brought in to make sure that that election, if it were to happen, would be legitimate and not interfered with. These are all questions that are going to be difficult to unwind and will potentially take some time. And so what happens in the interim? And does a ground force go in and keep peace? You know, in a power vacuum, a lot of things can happen. And so I think the president will get some questions about that this morning and what the U.S. intends to do to protect stability in the country.
Just to give some perspective on this day, January 3rd, I mentioned Noriega. That was, believe it or not, January 3rd, he turned himself in from the embassy at the Vatican.
Huh. The embassy at the Vatican. Yeah, you might be right. OPEC Plus put out the call. Hey, go yeah, get back on that. Oh man. Oh Lord. They don't even see what's about to happen, but they got it. Nah, it ain't gonna go that far. Y'all gotta understand, they don't need to do full-scale wars anymore. They'll just let the corporations fight it out.
Base that is concerned about getting embroiled in foreign wars. You know, the president has defended his plans here, saying that these are American lives that need to be protected. And he's pointed to the numbers, the amount of drugs that have come into the U.S. since the U.S. put 15% or whatever it was of its Navy, deployed military into the region some time ago, and just the impact that that had on the flow of drugs into the country and the lives that were being saved. I also think, though, that the president has made clear that he does not intend for this to be a long-term involvement on the part of the U.S., that this was less about effectuating regime change, although that may be a consequence of this capture, but it was truly about removing a bad actor who has been indicted in a court of law, and that indictment dating back to the previous administration. And so his critics on the Democrat side of the aisle, who may point to questions of legality, they can hold up that indictment and say that there is a legal justification for this action. How it was carried out and sort of the scale to which it was conducted, I think the president is going to give us more details on why it went down that way, and what President Maduro did not agree to that forced the U.S. to take this action of this scale.
Jackie Heinrich live on the North Lawn. Jackie, thanks. We have been given the 2-minute warning. It's actually drawing out a little bit longer than that. Fox News national correspondent Brian Yennis has been following this very closely. The biggest question, Brian, that we've been asking, you've been dealing with it with guests earlier on the air, what happens next in Venezuela? The next step, getting from point A to point B, is really the tough one. It's the harder part.
It is the harder part. And Maria Corina Machado, who obviously won the Nobel Peace Prize for being the voice, the face of the opposition, released that statement. And she has called for the immediate assumption. She says that immediately that they must do a constitutional mandate, and that Edmundo Gonzalez, who ran for president because she was barred from doing so, must immediately be put in as the commander-in-chief of the National Armed Forces by all the officers and soldiers who comprise it. She also has a message to Venezuelans abroad. She's urging all Venezuelans to, quote, be mobilized with engaging governments and citizens around the world. And in a statement, she also is telling Venezuelans within the country to, quote, be ready to implement what we'll soon communicate to you through our official channels. So while we wait to see what the president is going to say, clearly Maria Corina Machado releasing this statement to mobilize Venezuelans in the country and around the world. You saw those images in Miami, in Doral, Florida. That is the center of Venezuelan life in the United States. There is hope, there's optimism, but we have seen in the past when there have been operations, potential coups and whatnot, that this is the hard part, that it never really came to fruition. And there was just too much infighting, and the military, for instance, just did not turn their backs on Maduro. But this is a completely different situation this morning, obviously, Brett, with Maduro and his wife no longer in the picture, Brett.
Yeah, Brian, just the raid itself, getting to Maduro and his wife, we were told by the president in that interview on Fox and Friends that it was very well protected. The facility had steel doors. We are being told by intelligence sources, our Lucas Tomlinson, is that the couple was asleep at first and then tried to run to a safe room with a giant steel door, which the president said they were dragged away. The question now,
I swear, if they say that they really did this for oil and they go down there and find out the oil ain't that big, man, we gonna look retarded.
Energy from Venezuela. And now in the wake of this, you wonder what that means for Cuba and for the rest of the region.
No doubt about it. When we spoke to Carlos Jimenez last hour, who's the Republican from Miami, he talked about Cuba, Nicaragua, but also the importance of Colombia. We know that the Colombian government has sent troops to the border between Venezuela and Colombia. And why that's important is because at the center of this now indictment against President Maduro and his wife is drugs, narco-terrorism. And we know from a previous indictment in 2020 of President Maduro filed here in New York City that cocaine was at the center of the power of Maduro's regime. And so there's going to be a lot of focus on that region.
Trump did this so he could get a seat at OPEC, and they're not going to allow him in there.
Working with FARC leaders from Colombia, was using all of Venezuela's military might and airplanes and flights to essentially to send out drugs all around the world. And so there's going to be a lot of attention, I think, in Latin America, what happens in Cuba, Nicaragua, how Colombia responds to this. Will there be some sort of mass exodus? Is there going to be some sort of, perhaps, I mean, hopefully not, but some armed sort of conflict in the streets of Caracas? I think in the immediacy, that is what we'll be looking at here. And you did mention his wife, Brett. Cecilia Flores is fascinating in that he always used to talk about her as the first fighter of Venezuela. She used to be the defense attorney for President Hugo Chavez, who obviously led socialism in that country and handpicked Maduro to replace him. And so she is actually somebody in the indictment that was filed in 2020 had firsthand knowledge of cocaine. She had two nephews who were arrested for smuggling 800 kilograms of cocaine. That was brought up by prosecutors in the United States. So when you're talking about going after Nicolas Maduro in court, having his wife there with a direct connection to drugs is going to be something that's going to be very much in play here. And as the world now gets to know more about Cecilia Flores, who is credited, by the way, for keeping him in power down there as well.
And that will all play out, we assume, as this prosecution moves forward. And it could be a number of days, and they will be at the U.S. Southern District of New York. Brian, stand by in New York for more now. We're joined by Rick De La Torre. He is a former CIA Caracas chief of station. As we wait live, Rick, good morning. We're looking live at Mar-a-Lago in the tea room, expecting the president, the Secretary of War, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and the Secretary of State to come any moment. With your expertise, you know, this has been a long time coming for Venezuelans who we've seen images already online of the celebrations on the streets, some of the Maduro posters being pulled down off of buildings. We've seen some of that anecdotally already. Obviously, you're seeing celebration in the streets of Miami and Venezuelan corridors. But you look at Venezuela, the poverty, the hyperinflation, the mass immigration. It's been cozy with our adversaries for a very long time. Drug economy, the defiance. This indictment is very detailed. What is your take today in the wake of this?
Well, obviously, it's a great day. It's a great day, not just in Venezuela, in the hemisphere and worldwide, really. What we're seeing now is hopefully the return to democracy in Venezuela. This has always been a house of cards being held by Maduro, running a criminal network, a mafia that he personally benefited from, and those within his immediate inner circle. And now we're hopefully going back now to a true democratic and free Venezuela. And you're seeing that in the streets there. You're seeing that in Miami. You're going to see it wherever the diaspora, the Venezuelan diaspora, is located. Luckily, we're talking about a country that remembers what democracy and capitalism was before its downfall under Chavez and going into Maduro. Luckily, there's a Venezuelan American community with capital and with interests of returning to their home country and reestablishing themselves and bringing it in line with the rest of the world. It's a great day. It's a great day for everyone involved.
There are questions, and likely we're going to see them in this news conference in a matter of moments. And again, we're waiting for the president to come out of Mar-a-Lago. Questions about next steps and how you get from this point to a government that runs Venezuela. Is it the opposition leader, Machado? Is it someone else?
It should be. It certainly should be the opposition leader. The people of Venezuela, they voted. She won that election. Keep in mind, they tried to keep her off the ballot as best as they could, so she ran as vice president, and they still voted for her anyway. And she won that election fair and square, and she is the rightful leader. Her party and her are the rightful leaders of Venezuela. Unlike some of the commentary about maybe Delcy Rodriguez being the vice president of Venezuela, she's someone who's never been on a ballot. She was specifically appointed by Maduro to run and help him run the criminal enterprise. My understanding is she fled the country now. She's in Moscow, which is no surprise to me. In my opinion, she's always been a puppet, an intelligence agent of the Russians, and in particular the Cuban intelligence apparatus. And over the last few years, she's been taking on more and more of the authoritarianism and running the regime with Maduro.
Make sure y'all hit the
So
like.
I don't think she's a viable option in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and so is there a sense that the other elements of the regime kind of fall away? There's not a profile of courage here as far as underneath Maduro stepping up and continuing this Maduro regime, is there?
No, that's correct. Over the last decade or so, he's done a really good job of thinning the ranks of anyone who could even possibly be considered.
They're celebrating because they know they can go get refugee status now and go to America. This whole thing is about destabilizing the West. It's not about taking Maduro out. Trump has an edict and he's playing the book. He is gift wrapping Venezuela to BRICS for a song while destabilizing the Western part of the world.
Leave and on his own free will and maybe settle somewhere else. I never really believed that because his own criminal enterprise, his own bosses in his group wouldn't let him leave. Why would they let him leave? He gets to get on a jail-free card, but then they're left behind having to face the Department of Justice or the Department of War. That's not a viable option for them either. So I suspect
doesn't matter if it was legal.
George, in
hold on, George. It doesn't matter if it was legal. He violated international law. And when the UN calls him, he's going to sit there and try to justify it. They're going to have many nations go against what he did. That's the point. They want the UN off the Security Council. This is about destabilizing America and the West. How is our biggest ally outside of Israel, UK, saying this ain't cool? And they're trying to distance themselves away from what he did. Now he's going to come. I bet you he's going to come out when he finds that out. He's going to say Starmer's always been a snake. Watch.
Extremely complex, the whole maneuver, the landings, the number of aircraft, which were a massive number, the number of helicopters, a different type of helicopters, different type of fighter jets. We had a fighter jet for every possible situation. And they just broke in, and they broke into
How much?
Places that were not
How much is it?
Really able to be broke into, you know, with steel doors you were put there for just this reason, and they got taken out in a matter of seconds.
That's the president on Fox and Friends as we look live at Mar-a-Lago. Minutes away from that, I want to go quickly now to Doral, Florida. Fox Noticias' Andrea Linares is talking to Venezuelans in that community down there. Andrea,
wait a minute. Hold it. Hold on.
That's right, Brett. Good morning. And we have been here all morning speaking to the Venezuelan community just to give you an idea.
Hey, MAGA, I want y'all to watch this very intently. And after she's done, I'm going to ask y'all a question.
Where Venezuelans typically gather, they have been chanting, singing all morning long, saying Venezuela Libertad, which means liberty. They're calling this a Liberation Day. Some of them just raising their Venezuelan flags, others wearing MAGA hats and taking advantage of this opportunity to thank President Trump and the administrations for their efforts in Venezuela and the region. Now, look, Brett, I am from South Florida. I was born and raised here, been living here my whole life, and I had the opportunity to speak to many in this community. And what's very interesting is we're not just seeing Venezuelans here celebrating, we are also seeing people from other communities. We are seeing Cuban.
I'm going to interrupt you, Andrea. Thank you. Thank you. Let's listen in to President Donald J. Trump at Mar-a-Lago.
All you fucks are going to be in the UN in a few months.
Late last night and early today, at my direction, the United States Armed Forces conducted an extraordinary military operation in the capital of
I thought it was
Venezuela.
an extradition, not a military operation.
Overwhelming American military power, air, land, and sea, was used to launch
air, land, and sea.
A spectacular assault. And it was an assault like people have not seen since World War II. It was a force against a heavily fortified military fortress in the heart of Caracas.
You mean his house?
To bring outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro to justice. This was one of the most stunning, effective, and powerful displays of American military might and competence in American history. And if you think about it, we've done some other good ones, like the attack on Soleimani, the attack on al-Baghdadi, and the obliteration and decimation of the Iran nuclear sites.
Which you didn't get the nukes, but okay.
In an operation known as Midnight Hammer.
Let me tell you something, man. See, I think
all perfectly executed and done. No nation in the world could achieve what America achieved yesterday, or frankly, in just a short period of time. All Venezuelan military capacities were rendered powerless as the men and women of our military, working with U.S. law enforcement, successfully captured Maduro in the dead of night. It was dark. The lights of Caracas were largely turned off due to a certain expertise that we have. It was dark and it was deadly. but captured along with his wife, Cecilia Flores, both of whom now face American justice. Maduro and Flores have been indicted in the Southern District of New York. It's Jay Clayton, for their campaign of deadly narco-terrorism against the United States and its citizens. I want to thank the men and women of our military who achieved such an extraordinary success overnight with breathtaking speed, power, precision, and competence. You rarely see anything like it. You've seen some raids in this country that didn't go so well. They were an embarrassment. If you look back to Afghanistan, or if you look back to the Jimmy Carter days, they were different days.
Why do you feel necessity to insult me? Is that
Where's the script? Where's the script? Read the script.
Is this a big
These highly
defensive
trained
thing?
warriors operating in collaboration with U.S. law enforcement caught them in a very ready position. They were waiting for us. They knew we had many ships out in the sea, just sort of waiting. They knew we were coming. So they were in a ready, what's called a ready position. But they were completely overwhelmed and very quickly incapacitated. If you would have seen what I saw last night, you would have been very impressed. I'm not sure that you'll ever get to see it, but it was an incredible thing to see. Not a single American service member was killed, and not a single piece of American equipment was lost.
You did it from
many helicopters, many planes, many people involved in that fight.
You did it
think
from
of
the
that. Not
air.
one piece of military equipment was lost. Not one service member was
He's
more
repeating
importantly
himself.
killed. The United States military is the strongest and most fearsome military on the planet by
Can you
far.
stop a SAR bomb?
With capabilities and skills our enemies can scarcely begin to imagine. We have the best equipment anywhere in the world. There's no equipment like what we have. And you see that.
You gave it to Ukraine, though.
Even if you just look at the boats, you know, we've knocked out 97% of the drugs coming in by sea.
No, we don't.
90%. Each boat kills 25, on average, 25,000 people. We knocked out 97%.
Oh, good God. So
And
the other
those drugs
3%
mostly
fuck
come
with us.
from a place called Venezuela. We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So
judicious
we don't want to be
transition.
involved with having somebody else get in, and we have the same situation that we had for the last long
There you
period of
go.
years. So we are going to run the
judicious
country
transition.
until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. And it has to be judicious.
Who is we?
Because that's what we're all about.
Who is
want
we?
Peace, liberty, and justice for the great people of Venezuela. And that includes many from Venezuela that are now living in the United States and want to go back to their country. It's their homeland.
Wait, you said go back?
We can't take a chance that somebody else takes over Venezuela that doesn't have the good of the want to go back. Justice for the great people of Venezuela.
Hold on.
And that includes many from Venezuela that are now living in the United States and want to go back to their.
Oh my God. He said, yo, go back to your homeland. God damn. Trump is gangster. I got to give it to him. He said, go back to your homeland. God damn.
The country that everybody wants to be involved with because of what we were able to do and accomplish will make the people of Venezuela rich, independent, and safe. And it will
Rich,
also make
independent, and
the
safe.
many, many
All by
people
us.
from Venezuela that are living in the United States extremely happy. They suffered. They
Yeah.
suffered. So much was taken from them. They're not going to suffer anymore.
Why
The
would Biden
illegitimate
beat
dictator
his own ass
Maduro
up
was the
after
kingpin of a vast criminal
taking a shit?
network responsible for trafficking colossal amounts of deadly and illicit drugs into the United States.
Wrong.
As
I
alleged
just-
in the
they're
indictment,
happy. They get to
he
be
personally
refugees
oversaw
now.
the vicious cartel known as Cartel de las Solas, which flooded our nation with lethal poison, responsible for the deaths of countless Americans, the many, many Americans, hundreds of thousands over the years of Americans died because of him. Maduro and his wife will soon face the full might of American justice and stand trial on American soil.
From the UN.
Right now, they're on a ship. They'll be heading to ultimately New York, and then a decision will be made, I assume, between New York
What did
and
Biden do for me? Not a fucking
Miami
thing.
or Florida.
Next question.
But we have people where the overwhelming evidence of their crimes will be presented in a court of law. And I've seen it. I've seen what we have. It's both horrible and breathtaking that something like this could have been allowed to take place. For many years after his term as president of Venezuela expired, Maduro remained in power and waged a ceaseless campaign of violence,
got
terror,
another tool to whoop
and
the
subversion
Republicans'
against
ass
the
in the
United States of
midterms.
America, threatening not only our people, but the stability of the entire region. And you all saw it. In addition to trafficking gigantic amounts of illegal drugs that inflicted untold suffering and human destruction all over the country, all over, in particular, the United States.
Drugs yet.
Maduro sent savage and murderous gangs, including the bloodthirsty prison gang, Tren de Aragua, to terrorize American communities nationwide. And he did indeed. They were in Colorado. They took over apartment complexes. They cut the fingers off people if they called police. They were brutal. But they're not so brutal now. And I just have to congratulate our military, Pete, and everybody, and our National Guard, because the job that they've done, whether it's in Washington, D.C., where we have a totally safe city, where it was one of the most unsafe cities anywhere in the world, frankly, and now we have no crime in Washington, D.C.
How does he tell this
We
lie?
haven't had a killing. We had the terrorist
How did he
attack
tell
a
that
few
lie?
weeks
You ain't got
ago.
no crime in D.C., sir.
A little bit of a different kind of a threat, but we haven't had a killing in a long period of time, 6-7 months. We used to have two, on average, 2 a week in Washington, our capital. We don't have that anymore. The restaurants are opening. Everyone's happy. They're
I didn't
going,
know
they're
they
walking
closed.
their daughters. They're walking their children, their wives. They walk to restaurants. Restaurants are opening all over Washington, D.C. So I want to thank the National Guard. I want to thank our military. And I want to thank law enforcement. Been amazing. And they should do it with more cities. We're doing it, as you know, and we're doing it in Memphis, Tennessee right now, and crime is down. We've just sort of started a few weeks ago, but crime is down now 77%. And the governor of Louisiana called, great person.
Why are you talking
And
about
he wanted us to
Louisiana?
help him, as you know, in a certain very nice part of Louisiana. And we have done that. And it was a rough section, and we have crime down. I understand it's down to almost nothing already after 2.5 weeks. New
does he
Orleans,
tell that
it's down
lie?
to almost nothing. And we've only been there for 2.5 weeks.
New Orleans
Can't
is
imagine
number
why
one on the
governors wouldn't
crime
want us
list,
to help.
on the
We
list of
also
the
helped,
of the
as
worst
you
cities
know,
to
in
live in.
Chicago,
Based on
when
crime.
crime went
What the fuck
down
are
a
you
little bit
talking
there.
about?
We did a very small help because we had no
You would lose.
working ability with the governor.
would
The governor
lose.
was a disaster, and the mayor was a disaster. But it knocked down crime. But we're pulling out of there when they need us. We'll know. You'll know. You'll be writing about it. And likewise, Los Angeles, where we saved Los Angeles early on, where the head of the police department made a statement that if the federal government didn't come in, we would have lost Los Angeles. That's long after the fires. That's when they had the riots in Los Angeles. We did a great job. Got no credit for it whatsoever, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. We don't need the credit.
Oh, God.
But we'll be pulling out when they need us. They'll call, or we'll go back if we
He's
have to.
moving like a
We'll
female.
go back. But we did a great job in various cities. But the place that we're very proud of is Washington, D.C., because it's our nation's capital. We took it from being a crime-ridden mess to being one of the safest cities in the country. But the gangs that they sent raped, tortured, and murdered American women and children. They were in all of the cities I mentioned, Tren de Aragua.
So
And
Tren
they
de
were
Aragua
sent
was in
by Maduro to terrorize our people. And now Maduro will never again be able to threaten an American citizen or anybody from Venezuela. There will no longer be threats. For years, I've highlighted the stories of those innocent Americans whose lives were so heartlessly robbed by this Venezuelan terrorist organization. Really one of the worst. One of the worst. They say the worst. Americans like 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungary from Houston. Beautiful Jocelyn Nungary. What happened to her? They, as you know, they kidnapped, assaulted, and murdered by Tren de Aragua animals. They murdered Jocelyn and left her dead under the bridge. There was a bridge that will never be the same to so many people after seeing what happened. As I've said many times, the Maduro regime emptied out their prisons, sent their worst and most violent monsters into the United States.
Dickhead, why would I bring up the Epstein files?
They came from mental institutions and insane asylums. They came from prisons and jails.
I think you have TS.
The reason I say both, they sound similar. Actually, prisons, a little bit more hostile, a little bit tougher.
No, Trump is your daddy.
A mental institution isn't as tough as an insane asylum, but we got them both. They sent from their mental institutions. They sent from their jails, prisons. They were drug dealers. They were drug kingpins. They sent everybody bad into the United States.
They took out his boy, Charlie Kirk.
No longer. And we have now a border where nobody gets through. In addition, Venezuela unilaterally seized and sold American oil, American assets, and American platforms, costing us billions and billions of dollars. They did this a while ago, but we never had a president that did anything about it. They took all of our property. It was our property. We built it.
Listen to
and we never had a president that decided to do anything about it. Instead, they fought wars that were 10,000 miles away. We built Venezuela oil industry with American talent, drive, and skill, and the socialist regime stole it from us during those previous administrations, and they stole it through force. This constituted one of the largest thefts of American property in the history of our country. Considered the largest theft of property in the history of our country. Massive oil infrastructure was taken like we were babies, so we didn't do anything about it.
Hold it.
I would have done something about it.
Hold up. You were the same one who said that China took all our intellectual property and that was the biggest theft. Now it's the oil that Venezuela didn't give to us. Damn, he be moving that goalpost, boy. Go ahead.
America will never allow foreign powers to rob our people or drive us back into and out of our own hemisphere. That's what they did.
You a damn lie.
Furthermore, under the now deposed dictator Maduro, Venezuela was increasingly hosting foreign adversaries in our region and acquiring menacing offensive weapons that could threaten U.S. interests and lives. And they used those weapons last night.
Who?
They used those weapons last night, potentially in league with the cartels operating along our border.
What?
All of these actions were in gross violation of the core principles of American foreign policy, dating back more than 2 centuries, and not anymore. All the way back, it dated to the Monroe Doctrines. And the Monroe Doctrine is a big deal, but we've superseded it by a lot, by a real lot. They now call it the Monroe Doctrine, and I don't know.
What?
It's
what is he talking
Monroe
about?
Doctrine. We sort of forgot about it. It was very important, but we forgot about it. We don't forget about it anymore. Under our new national security strategy, American dominance in the Western Hemisphere will never be questioned again. Won't happen. So just in concluding, for decades, other administrations have neglected or even contributed to these growing security threats in the Western Hemisphere.
You hear him?
Under the Trump administration, we are reasserting American power in a very powerful way in our home region. And our home region is very different than it was just a short while ago. The future will be, and we did this in my first term. We had great dominance in my first term, and we have far greater dominance right now. Everyone's coming back to us. The future will be determined by the ability to protect commerce and territory and resources that are core to national security. These are core to our national security. Just like tariffs they've made our country rich, and they've made our national security stronger than ever before. But these are the iron laws that have always determined global power. And we're going to keep it that way. We will secure our borders. We will stop the terrorists. We will crash the cartels, and we will defend our citizens against all threats, foreign and domestic. Other presidents may have lacked the courage or whatever to defend America, but I will never allow terrorists and criminals to operate with impunity against the United States. This extremely successful operation should serve as warning to anyone who would threaten American sovereignty or endanger American lives. Very importantly, the embargo on all Venezuelan oil remains in full effect. The American Armada remains poised in position, and the United States retains all military options until United States demands have been fully met and fully satisfied.
Just go back.
Didn't allow it to happen, and the Western Hemisphere is right now a much safer place to be. So I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank General Raisin Kane. He's fantastic man. I've worked with a lot of generals. I worked with some I didn't like. I worked with some I didn't respect. I worked with some that just weren't good. But this guy is fantastic. I watched last night one of the most precise attacks on sovereignty. I mean, it was an attack for justice. And I'm very proud of him. And I'm very proud of our Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, who I'm going to ask us to say a few words. Thank you very much.
Oh, you setting up Pete to go get thrown to the UN dog. Damn. All right, I see you.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Finally, a commander-in-chief the world respects and the American people deserve. And as the president said, words can barely capture the bravery and the power and the precision of this historic operation. A massive joint military and law enforcement raid flawlessly executed by the greatest Americans our country has to offer. American warriors are second to none, the best in the world and the best.
No, we didn't, because he just said, hey, dumbass.
What all of us witnessed last night was sheer.
Hey, dumbass. He's the same one who just said that the drugs were coming in through the southern border. I thought they stopped it. He said that on Fox and Friends 3 hours before he did this. Oops.
Warriors are the elite of America. And again, President Trump has your back. No other country on planet Earth, and it's not even close, could pull this kind of operation off. And no other president has ever shown this kind of leadership, courage, and resolve. The most powerful combination the world has ever seen. As the president said, our adversaries remain on notice. America can project our will anywhere, anytime. The coordination, the stealth, the lethality, the precision, the very long arm of American justice, all on full display in the middle of the night. Nicolas Maduro had his chance, just like Iran had their chance, until they didn't and until he didn't. He effed around, and he found out. President Trump is deadly serious about stopping the flow of gangs and violence to our country. Deadly serious about stopping the flow of drugs and poison to our people. Deadly serious about getting back the oil that was stolen from us. And deadly serious about reestablishing American deterrence and dominance in the Western Hemisphere. This is about the safety, security, freedom, and prosperity of the American people. This is America first. This is peace through strength. And the United States War Department is proud to help deliver it. Welcome to 2026. And under President Trump, America is back. I'd like to welcome now our Chairman Raisin Kane, to give a few more details about the operation, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, the chicken tender's about to say something.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning. Last night, on the order of the President of the United States and in support of a request from the Department of Justice, as the President said, the United States military conducted an apprehension mission in Caracas, Venezuela, to bring to justice two indicted persons, Nicolas and Cecilia Maduro.
He said
this operation, known as Operation Absolute Resolve, was discreet, precise, and conducted during the darkest hours of January 2nd, and was the culmination of months of planning and rehearsal, an operation that, frankly, only the United States military could undertake. What I'd like to do this morning is talk to you through some of the preparation and the details without compromising any of our tactics, techniques, and procedures. There is always a chance that we'll be tasked to do this type of mission again. Our interagency work began months ago and built on decades of experience of integrating complex air, ground, space, and maritime operations. While the past 2 decades have honed the skills of our special operations forces, this particular mission required every component of our joint force, with soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians working in unison with our intelligence agency partners and law enforcement teammates in an unprecedented operation. We leveraged our unmatched intelligence capabilities and our years of experience in hunting terrorists. And we could not have done this mission without the incredible work by various intelligence agencies, including the CIA, NSA, and NGA. We watched, we waited, we prepared, we remained patient and professional.
Correct.
This mission was meticulously planned, drawing lessons from decades of missions over the last many years, many missions over these last many years. This was an audacious operation that only the United States could do. It required the utmost of precision and integration within our joint force. And the word integration does not explain the sheer complexity of such a mission. An extraction so precise, it involved more than 150 aircraft launching across the Western Hemisphere in close coordination, all coming together in time and place to layer effects for a single purpose: to get an interdiction force into downtown Caracas while maintaining the element of tactical surprise. Failure of one component of this well-oiled machine would have endangered the entire mission, and failure is never an option for America's joint force.
How'd that work in Korea and Vietnam?
Those in the air over Caracas last night were willing to give their lives for those on the ground and in the helicopters. Let me talk a little bit about the preparation.
Were on the ground.
After months of work by our intelligence teammates to find Maduro and understand how he moved, where he lived, where he traveled, what he ate, what he wore, what were his pets. In early December, our force was set pending a series of aligned events. Key was choosing the right day to minimize the potential for civilian harm and maximize the element of surprise.
Ready for Freedom Town.
And minimize the harm to the indicted personnel, so as the president said, they could be brought to justice. And as the president said earlier today, weather in Venezuela is always a factor this time of the year. And over the weeks through Christmas and New Year's, the men and women of the United States military sat ready, patiently waiting for the right triggers to be met and the president to order us into action. Last night, the weather broke just enough, clearing a path that only the most skilled aviators in the world could maneuver through. Ocean, mountain, low cloud ceilings. But when tasked with a mission, this organization does not quit. At 10:46 p.m. Eastern time last night, the president ordered the United States military to move forward with this mission. He said to us, and we appreciate it, Mr. President, good luck and Godspeed. And those words were transmitted to the entire joint force. Over the course of the night, aircraft began launching from 20 different bases on land and sea across the Western Hemisphere. In total, more than 150 aircraft, bombers, fighters, intelligence, reconnaissance, surveillance, rotary wing were in the air last night. thousands and thousands of hours of experience were airborne. Our youngest crew member was 20, and our oldest crew member was 49, and there's simply no match for American military might. As the night began, the helicopters took off with the extraction force, which included law enforcement officers, and began their flight into Venezuela at 100 feet above the water. As they approached Venezuelan shores, the United States began layering different effects provided by Spacecom, Cybercom, and other members of the interagency to create a pathway. Overhead, those forces were protected by aircraft from the United States Marines, the United States Navy, the United States Air Force, and the Air National Guard. The force included F-22s, F-35s, F-18s, EA-18s, E-2s, B-1 bombers, and other support aircraft, as well as numerous remotely piloted drones. As the force began to approach Caracas, the Joint Air Component began dismantling and disabling the air defense systems in Venezuela, employing weapons to ensure the safe passage of the helicopters into the target area. The goal of our air component was, and always will be to protect the helicopters and the ground force and get them to the target and get them home. As the force crossed the last point of high terrain where they'd been hiding in the clutter, we assessed that we had maintained totally the element of surprise. As the helicopter force ingressed towards the objective at low level, we arrived at Maduro's compound at 1:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 2:01 a.m. Caracas local time, and the apprehension force descended into Maduro's compound and moved with speed, precision, and discipline towards their objective, and isolated the area to ensure the safety and security of the ground force while apprehending the indicted persons. On arrival into the target area, the helicopters came under fire, and they replied with that fire with overwhelming force in self-defense. One of our aircraft was hit, but remained flyable. And as the president said earlier today, all of our aircraft came home, and that aircraft remained flyable during the rest of the mission.
Oh, so they got off.
As the operation unfolded at the compound, our air and ground intelligence teams provided real-time updates to the ground force, ensuring those forces could safely navigate the complex environment without unnecessary risk. The force remained protected by overhead tactical aviation. Maduro and his wife, both indicted, gave up and were taken into custody by the Department of Justice, assisted by our incredible U.S. military with professionalism and precision, with no loss of U.S. life. After securing the indicted persons, the force began to prep for departure. Helicopters were called in to exfiltrate the extraction force, while fighter aircraft and remotely piloted aircraft provided overhead coverage and suppressive fire. There were multiple self-defense engagements as the force began to withdraw out of Venezuela. The force successfully exfiltrated and returned to their afloat launch bases, and the force was over the water at 3:29 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with indicted persons on board. And both Maduro and his wife were embarked aboard the USS Iwo Jima. In closing, what we've witnessed today is a powerful demonstration of America's joint force. We think, we develop, we train, we rehearse, we debrief, we rehearse again and again, not to get it right, but to ensure that we cannot get it wrong. Our jobs are to integrate combat power so when the order comes, we can deliver overwhelming force at the time and the place of our choosing against any foe anywhere in the world. I am immensely proud today of our joint force and filled with gratitude to represent them here today. There is simply no mission too difficult for these incredible professionals and the families that stand by them and support them. As we stand here this morning, our forces remain in the region at a high state of readiness, prepared to project power, defend themselves, and our interests in the region. This operation is a testament to the dedication and unwavering commitment to justice and our resolve to hold accountable those who threaten peace and stability. In closing, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to the brave men and women who executed this mission. Their courage and tireless commitment to our nation are what makes us strong. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and thank you, Mr. President.
Politician.
Well, I don't have much to add to what you've heard now, other than the following points. Nicolas Maduro was indicted in 2020 in the United States. He is not the legitimate president of Venezuela. That's not just us saying it. The first Trump administration, the Biden administration, the second Trump administration, none of those three recognized him. He's not recognized by the European Union and multiple countries around the world. He is a fugitive of American justice with a $50 million reward, which I guess we saved $50 million. And
make sure.
Yeah, exactly. But
don't let anybody claim it. Nobody deserves it.
So now you throw him.
But I want to be clear about one thing. Nicolas Maduro had multiple opportunities to avoid this. He was provided multiple very, very, very generous offers and chose instead to act like a wild man, chose instead to play around. And the result is what we saw tonight. The other message here is the following. You have a guy, like many people around the world, they like to play games. You have a guy who decides he's going to invite Iran into his country, is going to, do the confiscation of American oil companies, is going to flood our country with gang members, is going to take Americans prisoner and try to hold them for hostage and trade them like he was able to do with the Biden administration. Basically likes to play games all this time and thinks nothing's going to happen. And I hope what people now understand is that we have a president. The 47th president of the United States is not a game player. When he tells you that he's going to do something, when tells you he's going to address a problem, he means it. He actions it. I can tell you, I've watched this process now for 14, 15 years, been around it. Everybody talks. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. When I get there, we're going to do this. We're going to take. This is a president of action. Like, I don't understand yet how they haven't figured this out. And now, if you don't know, now you know. Because this is the way it's going to play out. And I think people need to understand that this is not a president that just talks and does letters and press conferences. And, if he says he's serious about something, he means it. And this is something that was a direct threat to the national interest of the United States. And the president addressed it. There's a president of peace, by the way. I told you what I just said earlier. This guy had multiple opportunities to find his way somewhere else and figure out another. He could have been living somewhere else right now, very happy. But instead, he wanted to play big boy.
He will be in 3 years when he goes to
So now, he's got other sets of problems on his hands. And but I think that the message here should be for the world. Look, the president doesn't go out looking for people to pick fights with. He's not generally wants to get along with everybody. We'll talk and meet with anybody, but don't play games.
Yeah, all right,
don't play games with this president's in office, because it's not going to turn out well. And so I hope that I guess that lesson was learned last night, and we hope it'll be instructive moving forward.
Is that a message for Cuba? Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Mr. President. Mr. President. Running the country. Mr. President.
You said that the U.S. is going to run Venezuela. So who's in power right now?
Well, we're going to be running it with a group, and
you hear it
properly. We're going to rebuild the oil infrastructure, which will cost billions of dollars. It'll be paid for by the oil companies directly.
Venezuela.
They will be reimbursed for what they're doing, but that's going to be paid.
We're going to run it,
and we're going to get the oil flowing the way it should be. As you know, it was just a minor flow. It was actually a minor flow for what they have, but we're going to run it properly, and we're going to make sure the people of Venezuela are taken care of. We're going to make sure the people that were forced out of Venezuela by this thug are also taken care of.
He's running out loud.
Mr. President, does the U.S. running the country mean that U.S. troops will be on the ground? How will that work?
Well, they always say boots on the ground. So we're not afraid of boots on the ground if we have to have. We had boots on the ground last night.
Wait.
At a very high level,
no
actually.
Boots on the ground for Russia, but you're going to do it for this?
We don't mind saying it. But we're going to make sure that country is run properly. We're not doing this in vain. This is a very dangerous attack. This is an attack that could have gone very, very badly. Could have gone very badly. We could have lost a lot of people last night. We could have lost a lot of dignity. We could have lost a lot of equipment. The equipment is less important, but we could have lost a lot. And we're going to make sure that this is proper. We're there now. We're ready to go again if we have to. We're going to run the country right. It's going to run very judiciously, very fairly. Right. It's going to make a lot of money. We're going to give money to the people. We're going to reimburse people that were taken advantage of.
After
We're
you
going to
tell
take
them to
care of
leave
everybody.
here.
It's very important. We couldn't let them get away with it. You know, they stole our oil. We built that whole industry there.
Oh my God!
And they
So
just took
this
it
is
over
what
like we
MAGA
were nothing.
voted
And we had a
for,
president
to
that
take
decided
over
not
a
to do
country.
anything about it.
I guess because they couldn't
So,
get Greenland.
We did something about it. We're late, but we did something about it. Yeah, please.
President, what are you explaining the exact
MAGA hates
mechanism by
snow.
which you're going to run the country? Are you going to designate a U.S. official to coordinate?
It's
Can you
all
just
being
unpack that?
done right now. We're designating people. We're talking to people. We're
Designating
designating
people.
various people, and we're going to let you know who those people are.
This is
would
Bush.
run Venezuela.
Well, it's largely going to be for a period of time. The people that are standing right behind me, we're going to be running it. We're going to be bringing it back. It's a dead. You know, I talk about a dead country. A year and a half ago, we were a dead country. Now we're
It's about to
the
become a
hottest
prison
country
colony. You
anywhere in
watch
the
what I
world.
tell
We're
you.
a country doing better than any country anywhere in the world. And it required leadership.
Australia of the
Venezuela
West.
has a lot of bad people in there, a lot of bad people that shouldn't be leading. We're
Western
not going to take a
Hemisphere's
chance that one of
Australia.
those
This is gonna
people
be hilarious.
take over for Maduro. So you can look at and others. We have fantastic people, including
Disneyland.
people in the military. So
You
we're
mean
gonna have a
Incredible
group of
Universe.
people running it until such time as it can be put back on track, make a lot of money for the people, and give people a great way of life, and also reimbursement for people in our country that were forced out of Venezuela.
Rubio would be.
You said earlier today that you weren't going to back Machado to come back and be the opposition leader in your Fox and Friends interview. And then you also mentioned the vice president of Venezuela. Are you going to work with the vice president of Venezuela, or how do you foresee the relationship
Well, I
going?
understand she was just sworn in, but she was, as you know, picked by Maduro. So Marco's working on that directly. He's just had a conversation with her, and she's essentially willing to do what we think is necessary to make Venezuela great again. Very simple.
Mr. President, Colombian President Gustavo Petro, a couple weeks ago, he said he's got to watch his ass. And today, he said he's not concerned about anything happening to him in the aftermath of this operation. So, just what your message is
Well,
about
he
that.
has cocaine mills. He has factories where he makes cocaine. And yeah, I think I stick by my first statement. He's making cocaine. They're sending it into the United States. So he does have to watch his ass.
Did you notify any members of Congress in advance?
Marco, do you want to talk about that? Because you were involved.
Sure. We called members of Congress immediately after. This was not the kind of mission that you can do congressional notification on. It was a trigger-based mission in which conditions had to be met night after night. We watched and monitored that for a number of days. So it's just simply not the kind of mission you can call people and say, hey, we may do this at some point in the next 15 days. But it's largely a law enforcement function. Remember, at the end of the day, at its core, this was an arrest of 2 indicted fugitives of American justice, and the Department of War supported the Department of Justice in that job. Now, there are broader policy implications here, but it's just not the kind of mission that you can pre-notify because it endangers the mission.
Plus, if I could add one thing to that, Congress has a tendency to leak. This would not be good.
Here we go.
If they leaked, General, I think it would have been maybe a very different result. But I have to say, they knew we were coming at some point. You know, we had a lot of ships out there. They sort of knew we were coming. We went there. But Congress will leak, and we don't want leakers.
President, you were one of the only people to watch this all play out live. What was Maduro doing when the U.S. forces entered what I assume would be his home? And also, was there any point where the U.S. was considering if Maduro pushed back or resisted killing Maduro?
It could have happened. It could have happened. He was trying to get into a safe place. You know, the safe place is all steel. And he wasn't able to make it to the door because our guys were so fast. They went through the opposition so fast. And there was a lot of opposition. You know, people were wondering, do we get them by surprise? Sort of surprised, but they were waiting for something. There was a lot of opposition. There was a lot of gunfire. You saw some of it today. But he was trying to get to his safe place, which wasn't safe because we would have had the door blown up in about 47 seconds, they say on average, regardless of how thick the steel was. It was a very thick door. It was a very heavy door, but he was unable to get to that door. He made it to the door. He was unable to close it.
Go ahead, finish.
Where is Maduro going to be in the time being right now? Do you know his exact
Well,
whereabouts?
eventually, ultimately, in the near future, he's going to be brought to New York.
And where is he going to be held? Where is he going to be held in New York? Do you know?
That's going to be up to the officials that do these things.
Mr. President, the U.S. has something of a mixed track record of ousting dictators without necessarily a plan for what comes afterwards. Did that weigh on your decision?
Well, that's when we had different presidents, but with me, that's not true. With me, we've had a perfect track record of winning. We win a lot, and we win. If you look at Soleimani, you look at al-Baghdadi, you look at the Midnight Hammer. Midnight Hammer was incredible. Right now, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. We have essentially peace in the Middle East because of that. If we weren't successful with Midnight Hammer, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. So
it was already on the way to being peaceful.
You've had a lot of victory. You've had only victories. You've had no losses. Yeah.
Mr. President, can you? How long do you expect the U.S. to run Venezuela, and how soon do you want Venezuelan people to hold elections?
So I'd like to do it quickly, but it takes a period of time. You know, we're rebuilding. We have to rebuild their whole infrastructure. The infrastructure is rotted. It's actually very dangerous. It's blow up territory. Oil is very dangerous. It's a very dangerous thing to take out of the ground. It can kill a lot of people. It has killed a lot of people doing just that. The infrastructure is old. It's rotted. Much of it is stuff that we put there 25 years ago, and we're going to be replacing it. And we're going to take a lot of money out so that we can take care of the country. Yeah.
Are you saying that Secretary Rubio and
Mr. President, China, Russia, and Iran have interests in Venezuela. How does this operation affect your relationships with them when it comes to the oil and drugs?
And Russia, Russia, when we get things straightened out. But in terms of other countries that want oil, we're in the oil business. We're going to sell it to them. We're not going to say we're not going to give it to them. In other words, we'll be selling oil probably in much larger doses because they couldn't produce very much because their infrastructure was so bad. So we'll be selling large amounts of oil to other countries, many of whom are using it now. But I would say many more will come.
Are you saying that, Mr. President, are you saying that? Oh,
Mr. President, thank you. What is your message to the people of Venezuela today? Of course, the civilian population specifically, they have a lot of questions. What is your message to the people of Venezuela?
That you're going to have peace, justice. You're going to have some of the riches that you should have had for a long period of time. It was stolen from you. But you're going to have peace and you're going to have safety. You're going to have justice. You're going to have a country. You're going to have a real country. You're going to have potentially a great country. You know, if you go back 20 years, maybe even a little longer ago, that was a great country, and they destroyed it. Remember I said that if we lose this election, the United States will be Venezuela on steroids. That's what would have happened.
How?
Had we lost the election, the 2024 election, we suffered so badly. When you look at the border from 2020, what they did, what Joe Biden administration did to our country should never be forgotten. But if we had to go through another year of that, we would be exactly where Venezuela was in terms. I used to say, if they win, we're going to be Venezuela on steroids. And that's what would have happened.
President, thank you. Are you saying that Secretary Hegseth and Rubio are going to be running Venezuela? And will you be sending in U.S. military troops to provide?
Team that's working with the people of Venezuela to make sure that we have Venezuela right. Because for us to just leave, who's going to take over? I mean, there is nobody to take over. You have a vice president who's been appointed by Maduro. And right now she's the vice president and she's, I guess, the president. She was sworn in as president just a little while ago. She had a long conversation with Marco and she said, we'll do whatever you need. I think she was quite gracious, but she really doesn't have a choice. We're going to have this done right. We're not going to just do this with Maduro, then leave like everybody else, leave and say, let it go to hell. If we just left, it has zero chance of ever coming back. We'll run it properly. We'll run it professionally. We'll have the greatest oil companies in the world go in and invest billions and billions of dollars and take out money, use that money in Venezuela. And the biggest beneficiary are going to be the people of Venezuela. And also, I can't stress this strongly enough, the people that got thrown out of Venezuela that are now in the United States, and frankly, some want to stay and some probably want to go back. Yeah.
See?
What have you done to protect Americans in the country, and were any of the detained Americans?
Well, right now they're
arrested
very
last week?
protected because nobody's going to mess with us. They're very protected. The people of, and we let them know that you better not touch one of them.
Are you concerned that bad elements of the Maduro regime will remain in place?
Well, we know who they are. We're on them, and they're acting much differently now than they would have acted 2 days ago. Okay, wait, behind you, please.
Mr. President, why is running a country in South America America first?
Well, I
Oh,
think
shit,
it
somebody
is
asked.
because we want to surround ourselves with good neighbors. We want to surround ourselves with stability. We want to surround ourselves with energy. We have tremendous energy in that country. It's very important that we protect it. We need that for ourselves. We need that for the world.
You hear him?
And we want to make sure we can protect it. Yes, sir. Please, go ahead.
Is there a message here for Cuba and Diaz-Canel?
Well, Cuba is an interesting case. Cuba is, not doing very well right now. That system has not been a very good one for Cuba. The people there have suffered for many, many years. And I think Cuba is going to be something we'll end up talking about because Cuba is a failing nation right now, very badly failing nation. And we want to help the people. It's very similar in the sense that we want to help the people in Cuba, but we want to also help the people that were forced out of Cuba and living in this country. Do you want to say something about that, Marco, please?
Well, I mean, I just gave you a statement a few minutes ago about, when the president speaks, you should take him seriously. So suffice it to say, Cuba is a disaster. It's run by incompetent, senile men, and in some cases, not senile, but incompetent nonetheless. It has no economy. It's in total collapse. And by the way, they were, all of the guards that helped protect Maduro, this is well known, their whole spy agency, all that were full of Cubans. I mean, it's amazing. This poor island took over Venezuela in some cases. One of the biggest problems the Venezuelans have is they have to declare independence from Cuba. They tried to basically colonize it from a security standpoint. So, yeah, look, if I lived in Havana and I was in the government, I'd be concerned, at least a little bit.
Cutting off the oil flow to Cuba from Venezuela?
Well, the president already announced a week ago that anything that's sanctioned, it's sanctioned oil, it's not going to be allowed to get there. So that's a pre-existing.
Mr. President?
The answer is yes. Yes.
The location of opposition leader Machado, and have you been in contact with her?
No, we haven't.
Mr. President, on Monday.
Oh, I think it would be very tough for her to be the leader. She doesn't have the support within or the respect within the country. She's a very nice woman, but she doesn't have the respect to be the
Mr. President, is it possible that the U.S. ends up administrating Venezuela for years?
Well, it won't cost us anything because the money coming out of the ground is very substantial. So it's not going to cost us anything. We will. Well, we want safety there. We want to be surrounded by countries that aren't housing all of our enemies all over the world. That's what was happening, and you don't want to have that. But we're going to be rebuilding, and we're not spending money. The oil companies are going to go in. They're going to spend money. We're going to take back the oil that, frankly, we should have taken back a long time ago. A lot of money is coming out of the ground. We're going to get reimbursed for all of that. We're going to get reimbursed for everything that we spend. So it's going to be a very important. This is a very big evening that took place last night. We have to be surrounded by safe, secure countries. And we also have to have energy, very important. We have to have energy that's real energy, not where they're getting 4% and 5% of the energy out of the ground. You take a look. It was such a disaster. So what's going to happen with Venezuela, I think, over the next period of a year, is going to be a great thing, and the people of Venezuela will be the biggest beneficiaries.
Mr. President,
U.S. military.
Mr. President, thank you. What did you last speak to Maduro about when you spoke? And is the
Well,
US
I don't want to
at
get
war
into
with
the
Venezuela?
conversations, but I did have conversations with him, and I said, you got to surrender. And I actually thought he was pretty close to doing so, but now he wished he did, yeah.
You said that Maduro is responsible for drug trafficking. You recently pardoned the former president of Honduras who was convicted of many drug trafficking. Can you explain how these two situations are different? And would you ever pardon Maduro?
I endorsed, as you know, the winning president, the man who won in Honduras. I endorsed the man who won in Chile. I endorsed the man who won in Argentina. And we are doing very well with that whole group. What the man that I pardoned was, if you could equate it to us, he was treated like the Biden administration treated a man named Trump. That didn't work out too well for them. This was a man who was persecuted very unfairly. He was the head of the country. He was persecuted very unfairly. And there are a number of them. And we felt that it was a very unfair situation that happened to him. He's also a party member of the man who won. So obviously the people liked what I did. And one of the reasons that was done is because of the fact that the party in power felt very strongly that that man was treated very badly. I studied it very quickly, and then I studied it in great detail. I went to a lot of the people standing behind me, and they felt that that man was persecuted and treated very badly. That's why I gave him a pardon.
You referenced boots on the ground earlier. Can you just sort of button this up? Do you envision the U.S. military having a presence in Venezuela as the U.S. runs that country?
No, we're going to have a presence in Venezuela as it pertains to oil, because we have to have, we're sending our expertise in. So you may need something, not very much. But no, we're going to be taking out a tremendous amount of wealth out of the ground. And that wealth is going to the people of Venezuela and people from outside of Venezuela that used to be in Venezuela. And it goes also to the United States of America in the form of reimbursement for the damages caused us by that country. So I want to thank you all very much. Thank you. Do you have one? Yes, please. You were so nice before. I'm going to give you the final question. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr.
Unless
President.
it's a bad question, in which case I'll go one word. It's about who?
It's about Putin, if you want.
About Putin. Well, that's always nice
You had
to
a
talk
phone.
about Putin.
You had a phone call with him on Monday. Did he talk at all about Maduro? Did y'all talk about this?
No, we didn't.
And
We
then-
never spoke about Maduro.
Are you mad at him right now? I mean, there's this
I'm not
intelligence.
thrilled with Putin. I'm not thrilled with Putin. He's killing too many people.
Was that
I
intelligence?
thought that would be. So I settled 8 1/4 war. You know what the 1/4 was?
Oh, God.
Thailand and Cambodia. I did it again. They broke
Somebody
out,
laughed in the background.
and I did it in about 5 hours, and I settled it. I'm giving myself 1/4, so I'm up to now 8 1/4. In other words, I settled the war, but then they broke out. They had a pretty bad breakout over the last 4 days. I got them to go back to peace. So I only give 1/4. I thought the easiest one would be, one of the easier ones would be Russia, Ukraine. It's not. And they both have done some pretty bad things. And look, that's Biden's war. That's not my war. But I want to stop the lives. Did you see where last month, 30,000, it was 27,000 the month before. 30,000, mostly soldiers, were killed this last month. 30,000. I want to stop that. You know, I got NATO to pay 5% instead of the 2% that they weren't paying. They weren't paying 2, now they pay 5.
That was fucked
And
up
we
what
send
you
them a
did.
lot of munitions. We send them a lot of things, missiles and various other things, a lot. And they pay. The United States is not losing money. We're probably making money on that. It's the last thing I care about. I just want to stop all those people. We're losing 25, 30,000 human beings that come from 2 places that are very far away. But if I can stop, because it's something I've been pretty good at doing, deals, I guess. It's all a deal. Life is a big deal. But if I can stop that war and stop 30,000 young people, in addition to the fact that people are being killed in Kiev, people are being killed in other cities throughout, a much smaller number, but they're being killed, viciously killed. So I'm not happy about it. I thought that would be something that would get solved. We have Mr. Witkoff here. I think that we're making progress, but that's a war that should have never happened. If I were president, it would have never happened. Putin says it. Everybody says it. If I were president, that would have never happened. But I inherited that war. That was Joe Biden, Zelensky, and Putin. I came into the situation, and it's a mess. And I will say this. I watched an operation last night that was so precise, that was so brilliant. I mean, it was incredible. If we had our people, like this general and our people involved, that war would not have gone on very long, that I can tell you. That war, to use an old term, that war has become a bloodbath, and we want it to get stopped. Thank you very much.
President Donald J. Trump at Mar-a-Lago, the Winter White House, talking about the operation by U.S. Special Operations Forces to target Venezuelan forces and to capture Nicolas Maduro, the disputed president of Venezuela, and his wife, giving way to the Secretary of War, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and the Secretary of State to explain all of that. Before this briefing, he posted on Truth Social a picture of disputed President Nicolas Maduro, said to be aboard the USS Iwo Jima, that will eventually transport him to a private plane along with his wife to New York, and the Southern District of New York, where they will face charges and a prosecution of an indictment that was brought down in 2020. But the biggest headline from this news conference that's making headlines all over the world is President Trump saying that the U.S. will run Venezuela until a suitable transition happens. The definition of what that looks like, not clear. He said he has people working on it. It is being worked on, but saying that the U.S. will run the country of Venezuela, a country of about 30 million people. A lot of questions surrounding that. But the precision strike and the U.S. military action praised by all corners today. I'm Brett Baer. Please stay tuned to Fox News Channel and this Fox station for continuing coverage.
So there's that. But before we go, I want to ask Maga a question. You know how before Trump and them started talking, they were doing that remote from Miami? And you saw them Venezuelan flags outside? Remember a couple months ago, they were complaining that if you're a foreigner here and you're flying your old country's flag, you're not flying the American flag, that they don't want you here. Is MAGA going to go down to Miami now and get at them Venezuelans for being outside with their flag? I just want to know. You don't believe me. I figured you didn't. We're going to show you the hypocrisy. This here is from one of them big accounts over there on X. And they covered something that happened in Ohio. But conspicuously, they haven't said anything yet today about what happened in Caracas.
You know, let me go here. There's a growing concern.
Well, look at that. Libtards of TikTok. Top Biden State Department advisor who's from Somalia raised the Somali flag at the Ohio State House. Do we see what's happening? Ohio has been conquered. So they're raising a flag. You pissed off about that. But Miami got Venezuelans in the street wrapped in a flag. And you have not said a word. You've just been retweeting all day. Let me look at your replies. Maybe you said something there. Let's look. Yeah, you didn't say anything. You still asleep? Interesting. MAGA's a bunch of hypocrites. But that's okay. We understand. He goes after the low information voter. You know, the ones that ride the short bus when they were in college. You know, he likes them folk who barely got a D in lunch. It's all right, though. This is going to backfire because you have multiple nations saying they want the UN to do something, and the UN chief just came outside and said, we're deeply concerned. Trust and believe they will be having an emergency meeting on Monday. A day before that white supremacist holiday called January 6th, which is going to be the 5-year anniversary. MAGA, y'all are in trouble. Your man is setting you up to not only defend what he did, but when he starts having to ask for forgiveness from the UN and risk the USA's standing on the Security Council, and we happen to get kicked off and we have to stand trial for war crimes with the ICC, I hope you're going to be there to defend him. I hope you see this. Like this cunt right here. I hope he stands with Trump. But we understand he won't because he is a clown. He is Gomer Pyle. And he thinks he's nice because he shot Sergeant Hartman. Go ahead and stand with him. You guys will be known as the traitors. It's all right. America's already fallen. Now it's just going to be put on the screen. Your president just admitted what he did was economics, not to help people. And when we say economics, we're talking about corporate interests, not the people. But that's okay. This is what y'all wanted. So hopefully you learned something. If you did a dumb job, if not, I try to be better next time. We will keep our eye on this because you know shit's going to get worse before it gets better. And we will continue the work because, of course, folk is going to sit up here and tell you they stand with Trump until somebody tells them not to because they can't think for themselves. But that's okay. So y'all take care, stay safe, and you know what to do when the agents of chaos come to mess up your existence.
Oh, here it goes!
Time's up.
Get your ass up! We gotta get out of here now!
But did we have a good time here? Hello?
Gotta get your groove on.
At the end of the day gotta end.
That's it.